Hello, Assalamu alaikum. How's it going? Um, I want to talk about principles in Islam. Um, I see a lot of posts whereby people sometimes post these really ridiculous. I mean, generally speaking, kind of dumb questions, but like not really dumb. I mean, obviously they're really curious about something, right? And for me, I mean, of course, for any general Muslim who has an in-depth understanding of Islam, they would know these kind of things, right? Just because of reading books. So I just wanted to like point out to especially those reverts as well as Muslims who don't really understand the Deen that good. There are certain books or other certain principles that you need to understand before applying Islam in your life, or rather while in that journey. It's really important to know them, right? Because if not, then you will be asking questions to imams and shuyukhs and whatever the case is, and sometimes maybe even they don't really know the answer, but like based on their opinion, which is not really how it's supposed to be. It should always be according to the Quran and the Sunnah, not according to a certain imam's opinion. No, it should not be like that. So, with that said, there are, some scholars who it's really good to learn from when it comes to reading books and all that. On one hand, I would say the latest, most recent one who actually died in the 21st century is Imam Uthaymeen, right? He was one of the classical scholars. Personally, I don't really think there are any more scholars out there. I could be wrong. I don't know. But you have Ibn Baz, Uthaymeen, and I know, you're talking about, what do you call those? Salafis. And also that term Salafi has been really like misconstrued, like twisted and all that. But my point is, there are certain scholars that you can learn from. Their books, they have written books. And not every so-called imam or, someone who studied Islam should be used when it comes to their knowledge, right? Now, some people, of course, research Islam and do this and do that, but like not everyone will actually, give something to benefit the general Muslim population. So, with that said, again, going back to reading specific books in order for you to understand the principles, or rather the holistic of what is Islam, what is allowed and what is not allowed. Now, of course, there are some things that you will have to like read on to know if this is, right or this wrong. But generally speaking, as a Muslim or someone who's studying Islam and practicing it, you are supposed to generally know if something is allowed and if something is not allowed. Now, again, I'm saying this because I find a lot of sometimes questions that people do ask, and sometimes I feel like you don't really need to ask these questions. Like, oh, for example, and I committed zina, right? I mean, not me, but like people who commit zina, right? And then they ask, oh, can I marry this, girl or boy who I committed zina with? And or sometimes you'll find that, oh, if you committed zina, you're not supposed to do this, like you go down, like your respect goes down, your dignity goes down, and you're not supposed to, like, you get punished right on there. And one thing that Allah tells in the Quran is that, as in the Quran, it's like, a zani is for a zani, right? Person who commits zina is for a person who commits zina. However, what is a zani? A zani is someone who continuously commits zina without repenting, without asking for forgiveness. Now, if someone is asking for forgiveness, he or she is no longer a zani. So that label is not really placed upon them, right? So again, this is why why I said that it's really important for people to understand the principles of Islam. the teachings and comprehend them, because sometimes you might fall into a situation whereby just because of your opinion you think, oh, this is supposed to be like this and this is supposed to be like that, just because you didn't understand a certain situation or principle in the Quran and the Sunnah, right? Because again, at the end of the day, I'm not sure who said this, but like I read an article about how some imams may give out a what do you call it, will give out a fatwa, but like after that fatwa is given, you have some random Abdullah or Fatima out there who has a slight problem about something and then goes to this imam's opinion and takes it, but doesn't understand that that opinion was specifically for a particular situation that's probably not even connected to him or her, right? And that's the problem. Whenever you are making fatwa, you need to be sure that like whatever the ruling is connected to directly that. So on some level it can be really tricky when it comes to like shopping for fatwas online, and you're saying, oh, I think this suits me, or like this is for me, but at the end of the day you don't know what went down in the mind of that said imam or scholar or whatever when he gave out that ruling. So it's really important to better, number one, understand Islam based on the principles, the treaties and everything. Or number two, ask your local imam. That is the best, because at the end of the day, when you ask your local imam, and not to put this on him, but like the judgment will be held on him and not on you, because he's the one who gives the judgment. Because the general understanding is that when an imam or a scholar or a jurist is giving out a ruling, he is rewarded with 2 rewards if he is correct. Is it? But if he is wrong, he is rewarded with only 1 reward. So you get 1 ajr if you're wrong, but you get 2 ajr if you're right, if I'm not mistaken. Point is, make sure when you're applying Islam or when you're doing something, you're not at fault. It's better to be sure than not be sure. And the other principle is that make sure you're doing something within clarity, not within the gray area. Because there's a lot of times for example, some people say being ambiguous is good just to save yourself from a particular trouble. But according to the scholars, ambiguity is not always good, because then again, on one hand, sure, you want to do something, but you don't want to lie or be deceptive. But on the other hand, like, you want to be safe. So the general of what I'm trying to say is that make sure you understand Islam. Read books. Don't just wait for people on for people on YouTube or TikTok or Instagram to say this and that. Not every sheikh knows everything. Not every no alim knows everything. Not even every scholar knows everything. There's a hadith whereby there were people who came to Umar ibn Khattab to ask him questions. What is allowed and what's not allowed. And this man asked Umar 20 questions. Out of those 20 questions, Umar answered, Allahu ya'lam wa Rasul. Only Allah and His Messenger know. 14 of those questions were answered like that. 14. The rest, he gave them actual answers. So the man was upset and he said, I came all this way to ask you all these 20 questions, right? And all these 14 questions you say you don't know, like only Allah and His Messenger know? Like, why? The lesson there is that don't be someone who wants to prove that they know something. This is Umar ibn Khattab, one of the, Ashara Bashar al-Jannah, one of those 10 who was promised paradise. Umar, right? One of the most influential people when it comes to Michael Kihar, right? So again, this is Umar ibn Khattab. And he answers this man, Allahu ya'lam. 14 questions with Allahu ya'lam out of 20. Again, this is someone, if there were to be another prophet, he would be the next messenger. He would be the next prophet. Umar ibn Khattab. I'm just emphasizing on that. So, today you have a lot of people who want to be the first person to say, oh yeah, this is allowed, this is not allowed, this is allowed, this is not allowed. But no. Make sure you understand something, because at the end of the day, if you are giving an advice to someone and that advice is wrong, you're gonna get it. At the end of the day, Yawm al-Qiyamah, you will get it because it is you who advised that person to do something that was probably not halal. So be very, very careful and be very wary of like what advice you give. Also, what books you read, because there are some books that are not really under the Islamic banner. So my advice to you is make sure you understand Islam. Make sure you understand the principle. It is very, very, very important because if you understand the principle, you can pretty much apply Islam absolutely anywhere without having to be in doubt of anything. So again, read books, understand the principles, understand the fiqh, the hikmah, the jurisprudence. I mean, if you're not on that level, at least like take a course. You know, get a book, go to an imam in a masjid, or you know, and just like sit down and try to discuss these things. Inshallah, I'm hoping like if you are near a masjid somewhere near you, go there. If not, then may Allah make it easy for you, or like find you a way to like, you know, have discussion with knowledgeable people, because sometimes you go on Discord and you have these kids, for example, you know, who don't know what they're doing and they just want to be like, you know, keyboard warriors, and you're like, this and that. Like, no, make sure you are with those people who understand Islam, who have, again, experience, not just any random person. Inshallah, may Allah guide us all. Ma'as salam.